This is a documentary on the great Chinese explorer Zheng He, made by Kylie, Bella, Sean, Andrew, Sawyer, Emma, and Lily.
Contents of this documentary includes the start of Zheng He, his adolescence, the 7 voyages, and the legacy which is worth remembering.
Zheng He, or Mahe as he was initially called, was born in 1371 to a Chinese Muslim family.
In his early life, Mahe was captured by Ming soldiers and then castrated by the sword. He was assigned to serve the Ming prince Zhu Di, who eventually renamed Mahe to be Zheng He.
Emperor Yongle decided to make Mahe the director of palace servants. He also gave him a new name, Zheng He, in remembrance of his role in battles to win the throne. Zheng He was the name of the emperor's favorite warhorse.
Throughout his lifetime, Zheng He embarked on 7 voyages due to Zhu Di's desire to control the Indian Ocean trade network. In total, 3,500 ships were constructed for the voyages, which Zheng He would supervise and command.
First expedition of the 7 voyages went from the years 1405 to 1407. This expedition was composed of 317 ships, including as many as 16 huge treasure ships, and almost 28,000 men. On top of thousands of sailors, builders, and repairmen for the ship, there are also soldiers, diplomatic specialists, medical personnel, astronomers, and scholars of foreign ways, especially Islam. The fleet stopped in Chapman, which today is now what we call Central Vietnam, and Sanmen, which today is Thailand. It continued on to an island, Java. It then produced its final destination, Cochin, in the island of Calcutta, on the southern-western coast of India. On Zheng He's return, he suppressed a private upspring in Sanmen, transferred the private chef and overseas China back to Nanjing for punishment. Although there is not a lot documented about the second expedition, it is known that the second expedition went from the years 1407 to 1409, taking 68 ships to the court of Calcutta to attend the inauguration of a new king. Zheng He organized the expedition but was not there to lead it in person.
Zheng He commanded his 3rd voyage, which lasted from 1409 to 1411. It consisted of 48 large ships and 30,000 troops. In the 3rd voyage, Zheng He visited many of the same places as on the 1st voyage. However, this time, he also traveled to Malacca. Fighting broke out there between his forces and those of a small kingdom. Zheng He put down the fighting, captured the king, and brought him back to China, where he was released by the emperor and returned home quite impressed.
In 1413, Zheng He embarked upon his 4th voyage. This time, along with visiting numerous sites he'd already explored, he also traveled to Hormuz, located on the Persian Gulf. Zheng He commandeered his 63 ships and over 28,000 men there. The main chronicler of the voyages, the 25-year-old Muslim translator Ma Huan, joined Zheng He on his trip. On the way, Zheng He stopped in Sumatra to fight on the side of the deposed sultan, bringing the usurper back to Nanjing for execution. Zheng He's latter 4 expeditions were recorded by the Muslim Chinese named Ma Huan, who was attached as a translator to this 4th armada.
Zheng He's 5th voyage was lasted from 1417 to 1419, mainly acted as a return trip for 17 heads of state from South Asia. These heads of state traveled to China after Zheng He visited their homelands in order to present their tribute at the Ming court. Zheng He traveled further than he had before on this trip. First, he traveled to Inn at the Red Sea's mouth, then he traveled to Africa's east coast and stopped at the city-states of Malindi, Mogadishu, and Brawa. Although he was met with hostility often, the hostility was smoothly subdued. Several ambassadors from the country Zheng He visited on this trip returned to China with him. Leaving on his final voyage at age 60, the traditional Chinese age of reflection, Zheng He stopped at 2 places in China to have granite inscriptions placed so that his deeds would be understood and not forgotten. These tablets were erected in Liujiagang, now Liuhe, a port on the Yangtze River, and at Chengdu, in Fujian province.
The 7th voyage took place from 1431 to 1433. Zheng He died at sea and was buried off the coast of India, although some people think that he had made it back to China and died quickly after. The seventh voyage was sent out by the Yongle Emperor's successor. The expedition had more than 100 large ships and over 27,000 men. It visited all the important places in South China Sea and Indian Ocean, as well as Aden and Hormuz. On the voyages traveled, he went up all the way to the Red Sea to Jeddah, which is close to the cities of Mecca and Medina. On his way home from the seventh voyage is when Zheng He died at sea, although his grave is in Nanjing, China. Through the red lines on the map, you can see Zheng He's travels during the seventh voyage.
Leaving on his final voyage at age 60, the traditional Chinese age of reflection, Zheng He stopped at 2 places in China to have granite inscriptions placed as these would be understood and not forgotten. These tablets were erected in Liujiagang, now Liuhe, a point of the Yangtze River, and at Chengdu, in Fujian province.
On Zheng He's return from his 7th and final voyage in the year of 1433, most believe that he died at sea and was buried at sea, although some believe that he made it back home and died shortly after. Even though no one is quite sure which way he died, his official grave is in Nanjing, China.
After Zheng He's last voyage and his death, these famous excursions were ordered to come to a halt by the Emperor of China. His expeditions were heavily supported by the eunuchs, whom the advisors of the emperor distrusted, and so the ships he used were abandoned and forgotten, and the knowledge of how to build ships as vast and magnificent as those in these expeditions were unfortunately allowed to slip away. In addition, it started to be argued that those resources needed to be used elsewhere, as they were beginning to view the Mongols in the north as a threat. This timeline includes all of the events in Zheng He's life in chronological order: his birth in 1371, his youth, all of his expeditions and journeys, then finally to his death at sea, as well as important worldly events that occurred during his lifetime.
Storytellers have passed down the travels of Zheng He for years, regarding them with wonder and mixing them with other exciting tales.
Just a few primary accounts of Zheng He's journey remain, one from Ma Huan the translator, and 2 others from officers. After being ignored for a good while, in the 20th century, interest in these rare historical accounts was restored, and they became better known. Overall, it is important to remember Zheng He and his many accomplishments. Most importantly, however, is the fact that he was able to work his way up from being captured and made a servant to commanding the largest and most advanced fleet the world has ever seen.